Lupus and the Boy. The sound of growling crawls its way from the dark of the forest, accompanied by faint, weak cries of hunger. A mother sets forth. There is no more time. With nearly a week and a half gone by, I must find food for these pups of mine. Unbeknownst to the mother, her eldest pup followed far behind. Eager to find food, but also adventure, little Lupus left the den, despite warnings of danger from a mother always so wary. It was still dim within the dense forest, but the sun shone bright in a clearing the mother happened upon. Though next to a human abode, its humans had just entered the house, leaving a duck, a cat, and a bird outside alone. Treading lightly over the green grass, the mother knew she'd lose her cover once she reached the clearing. From there, she'd have to rely on her agility and expertise to guide her to a successful hunt. Ears twitching, tail flicking, paws petting silently, the mother rounded the clearing and aimed to ambush the duck, for the songbird was too small and fickle, and the cat too furry and its claws too bothersome. But the duck was plump and fat. With a burst of fierce strength and speed, the mother wolf, powerful, graceful, noble, ravenous, shot forth from her safety and shred safety from the flustered duck, as his startled companions shot up the nearby tree to their own safety. Content in her success of finding food for her pups for now, Lupus's mother trotted away with the duck, exiting the clearing and entering the dark shadow of the tall forest trees that sheltered her and her pups. All of this Lupus and the human boy looked upon, one with mesmerization, the other with horror. Lupus considered entering the clearing. He knew what Mother would say about the danger of showing yourself to the furless and weak, but somehow dangerous humans. But Lupus paid no attention to his mother's words. Pups like Lupus aren't afraid of humans. Lupus trotted out, interested in investigating the fat cat and the small bird. Mother had finished her hunt, and he'd head back home in a while. But first, he wanted to play some. This was his first time so far away from the den, and so Lupus went up to the tree where the cat and bird were. Lupus didn't notice the boy climbing up onto the wall near the tree with a rope in hand. The boy didn't notice the difference in size of this wolf and the one who'd taken his duck. So blind was his hatred and fury, he knew only that he wished to capture this greedy wolf, looking for more. In time, the songbird flew down to Lupus and flitted about his head. This was the first friend he'd made. How exciting! Lupus was happy that he could play with someone new now. But he was quick to learn that the bird was no friend of his, but of the boy. He felt something tighten around the base of his tail to the point of pain. The boy celebrated in his triumph of having caught the horrid predator with innocent blood on his teeth. Lupus thought it was time to go home, and tried with all his might to leave, but to no avail. The more he pulled, the more it hurt. And soon enough the sound of hunters' bugles and shotguns surrounded the clearing. They pulled in, cornering the bloodthirsty wolf with wild eyes. The scared pup, not yet 6 moons old, crying for his mother and for his life. Halfway home, his mother's sensitive ears twitched as she heard the wails of her Lupus. She, who had been hurrying away from the sound of hunters, turned tail and sprinted towards the clearing from which she heard the frightening sounds that she prayed were trickery upon her ears. But she confirmed that this was not so when she looked upon the ghastly scene before her. Lupus, bound and tied, was being dragged behind a procession of human hunters. Silently, she followed astride, unsure if she could save her child from such a horrible fate. Ropes digging into him, Lupus continuously cried as the hunters jeered, desperate to go back home, compelled to follow these humans. Uncertainty and fear overwhelmed his senses. These people were not his friends, and he knew not where they were taking him. Amid his hysteria, Lupus caught the scent of his mother, and swiveled his head towards her direction. He looked her way and gave a mournful last howl, expressing his sorrow and his apology for being the foolish pup he is and letting Mother down like this. "I'm sorry, Mother. I should have listened to you. I love you. Goodbye." Resigned to his consequences, he bowed his head and followed the hunters and the boy as they neared the human town, to whatever fate lay before him. The melancholy sound of a lone howl caused all the humans of the town to look towards the forest nervously. The mother responded in her infinite sorrow, the sound of her howl piercing the day and laying a thick blanket of grief over the whole of the forest as she declared her loss and her enmity towards the town. Mother and son, headed in different directions, towards vastly different fates, parting ways as the sand of time relentlessly slipped between the fingers of all who hold it. As life continued on, whether good or bad, all in that one frozen moment of grief, contemplated the cruel reality of this world. Once upon a time, whatever God that made me so, made it so that to survive, I must deprive the same from others. Is this such a crime?